on the bass like this, like this, like this, like this.
Hello, everybody. It is Sunday, August 9th, 2015, and this is Nick and Jonathan from Radio Tokyo, and we're doing a super special episode. Again, this is going to be, our third in a week, I think, Nick. But anyway, yeah, we're doing a little bit more coverage over Gamescom and what Blizzard didn't really announce today. I watched it live. Nick, I think Nick said he slept through it. But it was kind of a discussion that was not a discussion at all. So yeah, Nick, what do you think just hearing that?
I'm a little bit disappointed. I mean, I would have hoped that they just did more of a Q&A, but I can kind of understand that. I honestly think they're still trying to save a lot of things for BlizzCon, because I don't think they want to go too deep into it and have nothing really to show at BlizzCon, because this will be their big thing at BlizzCon.
Well, see, we were supposed to get like a nuts and bolts version of the expansion where more things would be explained in depth, but they did more discussion of that on, what was it, Friday, than we actually got today. But before we get involved in that, Nick and I were discussing before we started recording about the Fantastic Four movie. I haven't seen it, and Nick has not seen it, I don't think. I actually don't know anybody who's been to see it. But Nick, why don't you just explain what it is you've been hearing about it?
The reviews are absolutely abysmal. It is so bad. It is apparently worse than the original, or at least depending on what you consider the original. If you consider the straight to VHS movie part of the originals. Although some people think it's even worse than that movie. In fact, it has a lower rating on Rotten Tomatoes, I believe, than Dragon Ball Evolution. Yeah,
But see,
it has a 9% rating. A 9% rating. And the audience score isn't much better. It's at 25%.
But see, like, in its own way, I actually kind of like the Dragon Ball movie.
I mean, it's one of those. See, here's the problem. A bad movie can be a lot of fun. There's a lot of bad movies that I have fun with. For instance, the Dungeons and Dragons movie they made. I love that movie just because it is hilariously bad. It's enjoyable in its badness. But apparently, this movie it isn't just bad. It's boring, which is the biggest sin you can make. It is just completely boring, apparently.
Well, see, if you were to ask basically anybody else what the worst possible thing for this movie would be, it's apparently the fact that Johnny Storm is black. And I don't know what the big fucking deal is over him being black. It doesn't matter.
Yeah,
but I mean, like, there was some concern the other day. A radio host in, I want to say, Atlanta was interviewing the cast, and he's like, well, how is he your brother? I mean, how does that work? How does a white family have a black child? Who's to say that Susan Storm was not adopted by Johnny Storm's family? You know, who's to say she was not the white stepchild of black parents? Who's to say that their parents are not Asian or Hispanic and they just adopted a white child and a black child? Nobody knows, but it's supposedly it's discussed at some point in time in the story.
Well,
But
apparently it is Johnny Storm's parents adopted Susan Storm. So which I think is a really cool thing. Because at first I just kind of naturally, just not because that's what always happens. It's just I thought, okay, I guess they adopted Johnny, just because of the way Hollywood works usually. But then when I heard Susan Storm was the adopted one, I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. I like that.
But see, like, the thing for me is, it doesn't really matter at all. It does not change the dynamic. They're still brother and sister. Who gives a good goddamn how they became brother and sister?
Yeah, a lot
like,
of stepbrothers,
it's not important.
stepsisters, or a lot of step siblings, they're just as close, if not closer, than naturally born siblings.
But see, there's like the whole dynamic is they're brother and sister. Okay, does one of them being black and one being white matter? No. Does it matter if one of them is a redhead? No, it doesn't matter because they're still Johnny and Susan Storm, brother and sister. So everyone who's freaking out about that, you need to just take a damn chill pill. It doesn't matter.
Well,
it doesn't affect the story.
Well, it especially doesn't matter in this movie because apparently the Fantastic Four don't team up until the very end of the movie. Apparently, it's just shots of them each individually for almost the entire movie. This movie is so bad that Fox might lose the rights to the Fantastic Four.
Well, okay, let's
remember how Sony gave up Spider-Man after Amazing Spider-Man 2? This is worse than Amazing Spider-Man 2 by far. It is so good they might give it up.
Well, let's think about this realistically for a minute here. Could this possibly be any worse than the first two Fantastic Four movies we got?
It is. It is much worse.
I don't know. Because,
No, trust me. It is much worse. Every single person I have read a review, looked at, had them talk about, they have said it is unequivocally worse.
I guess I'm just going to have to go see it and make up my own mind about it. But, and
here's why. The original Fantastic Four were terrible, but they were at least campy and at least a little bit of fun. This one is boring, it's dark, it's gritty, and it's boring.
I don't know. Like I said, I'm going to have to go see it. But honestly, I consider myself a Fantastic Four fan, but that's just to the extent that I know who they are, and I know what they do, and like I discussed, a couple weeks ago in the differences between Marvel and DC, all of Marvel's characters tend to be around a central theme, and that's they're all motherfucking mutants in one way or the other. I don't know if you noticed that, either they're created to be a mutant or they're born that way. And
the only one that really isn't is maybe Black Widow, Iron Man. Other than that, pretty much everyone is, and maybe Hawkeye. Other than that, pretty much everyone is a mutant in one shape or form.
Well, see, the thing with Hawkeye is Hawkeye is actually just a normal human being. He's just stupidly good at what he does. I mean, it's cool to think about it. Like, honestly, I never thought I would make this comparison before, but Hawkeye, in a lot of ways, is Batman. He's just a normal person who is just really very tragically. I don't know the word here, but
maybe even more so than Iron Man, because Iron Man is the typical comparison between Marvel and DC. But I would agree in a lot of ways it might be Hawkeye more, because Iron Man uses technology way more than Batman does. He's far more reliant on it. Hawkeye is just pure skill.
Well, see, like, okay, I think if you were to combine Hawkeye and Iron Man, you'd have a better,
Yeah.
example. But like Hawkeye, like I said, is just he's really skilled. He's a really talented marksman. As far as Black Widow goes, she's basically the same thing. I mean, they're people. They're people who just have. They're Liam Neeson. They have a particular set of skills, and they'll use them on you.
I like that. I like every hero being Liam Neeson.
It's true when you think about it. I mean, okay, think about this for a second here. Look at the Avengers, at least the ones that you have, in the movie. One of them is for sure immortal. Another one, is entirely invincible for X amount of time. The other one, has on a suit of armor, so he's somewhat invincible. Another one is a super soldier who's eventually going to run out of steam, hint, hint. And then you have two people who are just Liam Neesons. They're just really good at what they do.
Yeah.
So, like, but see, here's the thing that kind of ruins the Avengers for me. Hawkeye and Black Widow could have just been killed and they're done away with. If you manage to get the Hulk worn down enough to where you can kill him, he goes away. Captain America is quite vulnerable, but he's kind of like a more powered Liam Neeson. Like he's super Liam Neeson, I guess.
But he is super Liam Neeson.
Yeah, but eventually, okay. Eventually, his powers will kind of wear off, and he'll grow old and die, or he'll be shot. Well, I don't know. And Tony Stark, is only limited until I guess his money runs out. The only one of them who it doesn't matter what happens.
We've seen Tony Stark be amazing without money when he was in the cave. So
that's true, but like the only real, like really the only one out of those who you're never going to get rid of is probably Thor, because he's basically immortal. So it's like everyone else can get crushed, and he'll be like, "I'm still here with my long hair and wearing my mother's drapes."
I mean, but it'll be really interesting to see what Fox decides to do with Fantastic Four here. They have made 3 movies now, 4 if you count the VHS. I don't know, and I don't know what they're going to do with it now. This is clearly absolutely terrible. It is bombing at the box office badly for the budget that they paid for it. This is becoming it's becoming a very expensive property to keep for them.
I did see it was something like $153 million budget, and it took in
26.2.
And it's made like 11 million, I think, opening weekend, something like that.
It's 26.2 now.
Oh.
Even still, that's not nearly enough. It's way short of what it needs to be.
Well, either way, it's in one way or another still making Disney money. So
no, it's not.
That's all that matters.
It's making Fox money.
Speaking of Disney, have you seen like on Facebook or Twitter or whatever, uh, the argument that Frozen is actually not as good as people think it is.
It isn't. It's a fun, enjoyable movie, but it's not revolutionary. It didn't do anything much different other than maybe the sisters saving each other. That was literally the only difference.
See, like one of the biggest things that's come out of it that I've noticed, uh, at least from what's being pointed out, is that if anything, Elsa is not really a role model for little girls. That would more or less be Anna. Elsa is apparently more of a role model for members of the LGBT community.
I guess
Well, see, like the major comparisons I've seen made are she's literally closeted for most of her life.
Yeah, I mean,
that's the number one comparison.
I can kind of see that. Yeah.
But like she's there locked away, with her special secret, and then when it's released, like when everyone finds out about it, oh no, we don't like you, and they try and hunt her down and threaten to kill her and everything. But in the end, everyone learns to accept it, and she's fabulous because she can make ice rinks and shit. So it's like gay people make an ice rink, and you're accepted. It's weird to make that comparison in a lot of ways, but I can kind of see it, except for I don't think. Well, I mean, I know that's not how it was originally intended to be taken. She was supposed to have been, the idea, like let's say you're a little girl, you can grow up, you can be you don't have to stop at princess, you can stop at queen, because you have Queen Elsa, except now she's apparently been downgraded to princess because that would not work with the other princesses. I don't know, but anyway, one of the big detractions here that I've seen against Frozen is Big Hero 6, which I've actually not seen it, but
it's really, really good. It's great. I love Big Hero 6.
I've seen like parts of it, but never watched the whole movie. But apparently, it actually has more role model oriented characters in it than Frozen does.
It's a really interesting movie because and the one detraction I'll put against Big Hero 6 is I kind of wish there was more time to develop to the other 4 heroes. It primarily focuses on oh god, I can't even remember his name. The kid and the robot than the other heroes that help them, and I can kind of understand that. But at the same time, it's but the thing about the heroes is there's 2 women scientists. They're both really smart. It's a very diverse set of heroes. There's one of the ladies is Asian, one of the guys is black. They're all really nerdy, but they and they all they're kind of scared to become heroes, but at the same time they buckle down, they're brave, they go to help each other, friendship. The brotherly bond, even though his older brother gets killed early, is really, really well shown. There's a lot to like in Big Hero 6, and I can definitely see there's a lot of good role models there.
See, like, I know a little bit about the movie, but I don't know everything about it. But like with what I know, I actually do think that it's probably better in a lot of ways than Frozen is. And really, what I think these comparisons show is that Disney movies are more popular because they're Disney. But they're
Uh,
not. But they're
I
not.
I
More
think
popular.
Pixar has made better movies for at least the past 10 years.
Well, Pixar
Uh,
is now part of the Disney empire again, which is
Even still, Pixar
pitiful.
Studios has been much, much better um, than Disney. I think that Disney had to buy Pixar out because they could not compete.
They couldn't really. I mean, like, just the magnum opus for Pixar is clearly Toy Story. Look at that, and you can see how well that's. I mean, you're talking about a movie, that came out. I was in junior high, I think. So that's nearly 20 years ago. And here I am, 33 years old, and I cannot watch Toy Story 3 and not cry my eyes out because I mean, now granted, it's not, the best of the movies to me. It's not. I'm sorry, Pixar. I love it, but it's not, like the best one.
Yeah, yeah,
But I
it's
cry.
definitely not.
Like I can't help it. It really makes an impact. And I think actually it makes several thoughts come to my mind that's probably going to be good for Friday's episode, assuming Danny's here. If she's not,
Mhm.
I'll be kind of angry because I won't go discuss it. But um, like it's really it's a really well done movie. It really is. Uh, I have not seen the new one. I can't think of the name of it off the top of my head, but it's also another movie that the one with the emotions.
Uh, oh, Inside Out. Yeah,
Yeah,
I've
that's
heard
it.
really good things about that.
Thank you. Inside Out. Um, Somehow, from what I've understand about it, Pixar was able to capture what it's like being a little kid
Mm,
and put that on film. And it's another movie, where you have grown adults walking out in tears, because it was so beautifully done. And I do think in a lot of ways Disney, like you said, had to get that capability back. The last Disney movie I remember watching, and like having an emotional reaction, whether I was crying or whatever. Well, actually, it was Frozen. I'm not gonna lie, it was Frozen. But before that, oh geez,
I'm trying to think of one.
Lion King maybe.
Yeah, that's the first thing that comes to mind,
Lion
but
King,
I think there was
which
one after that, but I can't think of what it. Oh, maybe Lilo and Stitch.
I actually have not seen that one. I really haven't. Um,
Really? Oh,
yeah,
it's a fun. It's very different from the other Disney movies. I'll put it like that. That's probably the last great Disney movie I am seeing. I mean, I liked Frozen. I didn't exactly have an emotional, like I wasn't ready to cry about it, but probably the last Disney movie I was ready to cry about was Lilo and Stitch.
shit. When I first heard about Frozen, uh, my initial reaction was to want to make fun of it because it's a Disney movie. Uh, but um, okay, like I saw it becoming really popular, and kept hearing "Let It Go" all the time, and I was just like, "Fuck it, I don't care. I don't want to hear it. I don't care. Whatever. Shut up." And then I watched it, and about halfway through the song "Let It Go," conveniently, like um, the initial part, everyone knows, and if you haven't seen Frozen, what the fuck? But um, the initial part is, Elsa's, been banished from her homeland, and she's wandering through the dark, she's like, blah 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 blah, what's gonna go on? And then she's like, you know what? I'm gonna build an ice castle, and she makes stairs, and then she just runs up it, and then like when she's in the middle of the ballroom thing and she's making the chandelier and everything, and she just
Mhm.
changes her clothing, her hair. I'm like, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god! I just started crying. It's beautiful, and like you can laugh at me for it. I don't mind, but just watching it, you realize what it is she's actually saying. Uh, which is where the role model for little girls or whoever you want to apply it to comes from. She's saying that I'm special in my own damn way, and I'm gonna be special. And if you don't like it, fuck off. Like that's basically what she's saying, and that's a really positive message to have put into the movie to me. You
Yeah.
know, and I think that everybody who watches it actually gets that out of the movie in one way or another, and that's good.
Mhm. Yeah, it's a good movie. I have nothing against it. I mean, but I would agree. I don't think it's this great masterpiece. Not for Disney or Pixar or there's a lot of movies I would put above it. Up, um, probably the Toy Story movies. I'm trying to think of Big Hero 6.
Well, see,
They,
honestly, like as far as a movie like that goes, it's probably not going to be above Toy Story. Like Toy Story is really, really, really hard to beat, but that's because Pixar took like 20 years or so and really made it as good as they possibly could. Like
yeah.
wove the story together, and there's some stuff that I want to bring up whenever we do our cartoon conspiracies uh, about Toy Story that's pretty worthwhile. But but before we
Oh, Finding
complete
Nemo, The Incredibles, Wally. Yeah,
Wally's
there's
good too. Wally's really good. But before we get too far off topic here, I have one other thing I want to bring up, just to get your reaction to this. Um,
sure.
on Friday's show, right like the very tail end, the announcement about James Holmes, like his verdict was made. So like I wanted to know what your thoughts are about James Holmes. Now, my stance is it's important that everyone's aware of it, and there needs to be a reason why it matters. And I'm sort of the why do we fall down, Bruce, so we can learn to get back up stance. But like just really quickly, what do you think about it? Like, do you think he should have been given the death penalty?
Um, I yeah, I'm not in favor of the death penalty in general, but there are times where I really think it should be used. Probably what happened in South Carolina, here, just the there are some things where I think it's just um I guess unforgivable, which I mean yeah, I'll put it like that. There are some things that are just so beyond what we know that they're just unforgivable. At least to me, I can completely understand when people say the death penalty is bad, and there's a variety of other reasons why it's bad. The litigation process, how much money it costs, things like that. You can't reverse it, obviously.
Well,
But
see, like,
in a case here where it's so obvious, where it's so irrefutable who did it and what happened, and the results are just so right there. There's no disputing it. the only defense you can give him is that he was crazy. And I'm not sure that I completely buy that as a viable defense.
Well, see, like the thing that I noticed in his case, and I was actually talking about this morning. Um, Apparently, according to Colorado law, uh, whenever you do something like that, and there's a jury involved, if they cannot come into a conclusion, the state automatically has.
I think you cut out there for a second. What were you saying?
I was saying that apparently, according to Colorado state law, that if a jury cannot come to a decision, in giving someone life in prison or giving them death, apparently the law intervenes, and after like 2 tries to find, him, well, they
Yeah,
found him guilty without question. But the jury deliberated over, you know, essentially life or death, and they couldn't decide. There were a hung jury, and the state stepped in and said, life in prison. And some people seem to be really, really, really upset by that, and I understand why.
that,
But
the law makes sense though. It really does. That makes sense to me. If the jury's split and they just keep going back and forth, then it's better to err on the side of life than death.
see, like, honestly, I think it's a better decision to have, for this, for state law to just step in directly. If people can't decide,
Yeah.
give him life in prison, whatever. Like, I get that, but like, I don't want to get too far in depth into this because that would be really, really dark to go
And
to.
very, very
But
off topic.
I just wanted to mention it because it was something that happened when we were doing Friday show. So I just wanted to bring it up, and in a lot of ways it does relate to what we talk about on the show almost all the time. Like it's was done in a Batman movie, and Batman was like uh, the fandom was very, very quick to make memes and statements and stuff. Like I said,
Or the
why
Superman
don't
movie.
yeah, like why do we fall down, Bruce, so we can get back up again? Like it was very quick to
Or
react to it.
the issue of Superman killing Zod.
Yeah, sort. I'm I still have weird thoughts about that, but like
Everyone has your own opinion on it.
I trust the movies. I guess I don't know, but anyway. Before we get way, way, way off topic here, um, the actual discussion is of course the sorry not sorry discussion this morning by Blizzard at Gamescom.
Sorry, not sorry.
Okay, before we even get into that, there was a couple things that I learned about what was discussed. First off, the fashion show that we had there, when the developers walked on stage, their shirts they're wearing, there's only 4 of those in the world. So if you're one of the people like myself who wants one, you're basically SOL as far as that goes. Now,
Don't
whether
worry.
or not that,
I'm sure someone is going to make a version of that shirt or something. Or Blizzard's going to release that shirt themselves. It'd be like,
well,
here,
see, okay,
buy it.
I'm I've been since I heard that I've been playing the guessing game as to who it is as the 4th one. We know Mike Morhaime has one. My favorite Blizzard employee, Ian Hazakostas, has one. Alex Afrasiabi has one, and I feel really comfortable saying that Chris Metzen got the 4th. But honestly, I do hope
that would make the most sense.
I do hope that they make that one available. Like, out of all the shirts that they have had specifically, for BlizzCon or whatever, honestly, I really like this one. I really do. There's just something cool about having, like Demon Hunter tattoos on a shirt that I can wear around. But another thing I learned, I did not watch it when it was done live, and I haven't gone back to watch it. But typically whenever Blizzard has some kind of promotional event, BlizzCon, Gamescom, whatever, they have like a live raid. A few years ago, actually during Wrath, uh, it was supposed to have been testing for Cataclysm that they were doing actually at BlizzCon. And Nick, you may remember this. They had the 40-man raid where they all went into Trial of the Crusader,
Mm-hmm.
and of course the floor drops out, and there's Hogger, and he wiped the 40-man raid.
I think I kind of remember that. I would love for there to be a 40-man raid against Hogger. I would play that every day.
It would be cool, but yeah, like there was a 40-man raid there, but they invited 5 people from Method, and I forget the other guild name. I should know it. I'm sorry. Prepare to Fail, I think is who it was. But anyway, they had them run challenge modes live, and apparently, I really have to hesitate before I say this because this is kind of a dangerous thing to say, but apparently Method sucks at doing challenge modes.
What? Wow, that's
Yeah. The other guild for they had a real quick review of it, and the announcer is like Method or the other guild, whatever their name is, and I remember hearing the other guild's name come up as far as defeating bosses goes. Now, as far as the live raid thing, Method tended to get that more.
yeah. They're usually the top guild since what was the other guild that was before them?
Paragon.
Yeah, Paragon. After Paragon stopped, then it was Method's been the top guild for a while in the world, at least
Like
for completing the raids.
like for Wrath and Early Cataclysm, I think it went back and forth between Method and Paragon.
I think
But
Paragon usually still won, though. I think they were usually
they
considered
did.
number one.
They did, except for I believe Lich King. No, actually, that was when Blizzard took Paragon back a little bit, I think, because they had
Oh, that's
done.
right. They said they cheated or something.
Yeah, when all it was using a normal mechanic for. No, okay, the reason it upsets me to this day is a lot of players, aren't aware of this. Back during Wrath of the Lich King, everyone had to have certain professions to do certain things. Like, now, since Cataclysm Mist, whatever, you don't have to have a profession to get ahead. Like, they started, kind of moving away from that during Mists. But all of Warlords, you haven't had to have a profession to succeed. During Wrath of the Lich King, certain mechanics, like the Lich King himself, were stupidly hard. And it was not tested on the PTR. When the Lich King became available, the people who went in there and actually attacked him and tried to figure him out wiped hundreds of times trying to learn mechanics phase by phase. And Blizzard, of course, was watching that. Like they used to have GMs that would actually step into the game world and would watch you,
Yeah.
and that's what they were doing. Part of a rogue's normal rotation was using Serenite bombs. It did I think I want to say it was 5,000 siege damage or something like that. But that damage would also apply, to it applied to players and NPCs and buildings alike, and that was part of the normal rotation. And what they discovered was, like on the portion where you have to back away from him.
I remember something about it.
Yeah. Uh, what I want to say Paragon. I'm probably wrong, but anyway, whatever guild was doing it, they discovered that you couldn't stop him from doing the phase where he shattered everything around you, but you could keep him in like this little area for a little bit longer, depending on your timing. And they were trying to.
I think what happened was they were able to skip through the Valkyrie phase.
That's basically what it amounted to, was being able to skip a phase. But it was not intentional. It really wasn't. I mean, well, they were doing it intentionally. Trying to get, trying to determine the best way to kill him, and whatever GM was watching it stopped the encounter and banned all of them for 3 days and took it away. And like less than an hour or so after that, the world first kill was gotten by not the top guild in the world, and that really upset a lot of people. And I remember very distinctly, because on Nick and myself's original server, which was a loon, the top guild was Just Crusade. And if you've ever been to Wowhead and you've seen the name Perculia pop up, she used to raid with them. Except I think she had stopped for the most part by the time the Lich King came around, at least raiding with JC. But they were actually not the first kill on our server. That went to another guild called, I believe, Better Part of Valor, I think.
Yeah, I think it was, I think it was Better Part of Valor.
I remember it being them.
But Illumin used to have a couple of really good raiding guilds.
They did. But anyway, like, our server first kill was 10-man. And now, mostly for like world first kills, they want it to be, what the community says it has to be 25 player. And then it became 25 player heroic. And now it's mythic. If you don't get the world first mythic kill, nothing else actually matters. In reality, the first kill goes to whoever gets it down first. And this guild, whatever guild Blizzard banned, that I'm gonna have to go look up, they would have gotten the world first, but they didn't, because Blizzard determined that they were cheating. Now, the determination that someone was cheating had come up earlier in the expansion, with Athene and his guild. They had spent, I think it was about 12,000 gold altogether, and during Burning Crusade, that's a lot of gold. They had ran dungeons and farmed and played the outcast and everything in order to get potions and flasks and everything else that they would need. Excuse me. And they had almost nothing else in their bags. And they went to Northrend. They went directly to Azul Narub. No, I'm sorry, Utgard Keep. And did that until, I think, 75 or so, and then they went to Azul Narub and were just running it repeatedly, over and over and over again. And Blizzard had, of course, had a GM watching the whole thing, because it wasn't like it was not announced that they were going to do this. So they watched them, and they paused the encounter right before their tank, who would have been world first level 80. What they were doing was, running these dungeons over and over and over again, and whenever they went to actually kill something, like a boss or whatever, because you get more XP off of boss kills than trash, what they would do was kick him out, and then before a minute was up, they would invite him back. So that would be, like on an Uberok, and killing him, and he's almost dead. Kick the tank out for a minute, invite him back, and they finish the dungeon.
Wait, how did that? What? How would that?
It very, very easily. What they would do is, about the last minute or so, kick him out. That way, he gets full credit. It's a mechanic you can still.
Credit for
like
For the killing instead of the 5 players.
it's a weird mechanic. It's actually something you can do now to level a character.
See,
I'm
I get why people would be kind of annoyed that Blizzard would punish people for using mechanics that are in the game, and it's kind of Blizzard's fault they're in the game. But at the same time, I can kind of understand that it feels like cheating. If it feels like cheating, then it probably is on some level cheating.
it's questionable to me, but I'm not gonna say who this is because I don't want to get him in trouble. But there is.
I mean, well, if you know you're skipping an entire phase of a boss fight, even if you're using mechanics that it or trying to invite someone and then or I'm sorry, kicking someone then re-inviting them to boost their experience more than that all of that feels like cheating to me. To me, that is cheating.
Well, see, like for the Lich King, uh, I'm really not comfortable calling that cheating because it was them doing a boss fight for literally like no one had ever done it. Like even Blizzard employees hadn't actually tested it.
Yeah,
And like
no. If you're using a mechanic that only one class can do, clearly you're not supposed to be DPSing the Lich King when he's in that little ice. He's doing his ice thing. It's clear, at least not from a melee perspective. I mean, it's. I think that's clearly bending the game, and especially for World First, I have to side with Blizzard there.
well, I mean, like in hindsight, really, you really only can side with Blizzard because that's the decision they made. But like, I get
No,
the argument against it
I would.
not being cheating because it was never tested, and they were trying to figure out how to beat him. Like they were doing it, wipe by wipe, trying to figure it out. So I get, they were just using, game mechanics to try
Maybe
and beat.
they should.
I get that, it's understandable, but
Maybe they shouldn't
um,
have banned them. But I think the ban was too harsh. Maybe they could have just taken the kill away or something. But it definitely feels like you're trying to cheat mechanics at that point to me.
but see, like compare that, to what Athene was doing.
Well, a fiend that's way more cheating to me than.
Well, see,
That is clearly cheating.
Here's the thing. This was a known mechanic. Like you can still do it now. What I was going to say is I'm not going to say this person's name because I don't want to get them in trouble, even though I'm sure Blizzard's already found out about it. But he has a guide to get from 1 to 60 in a few hours, and it involves going to specific dungeons. One of them being dead mines, and like using the cannons that are there. Like this is something you can do now. But Blizzard has not stopped the idea of kicking someone out of a dungeon and then re-inviting them and forcing all the XP to a certain person. They haven't touched that yet. But but like as far as the Themes group did, that was use of a known mechanic. That was something that Blizzard had said.
I don't buy that. I really don't. It's like if you try to use a tax loophole and then the IRS calls you out on it and you're like, well, yeah, but other people have done this week. They say the same thing. It's cool, right? And then they're like, no, it's not. It's you clearly clearly you're not supposed to do this. Even if you sure Blizzard should have removed it from this thing, but I don't buy the whole it's a no mechanic, so it's okay. I
don't
really don't.
see, like my thing is it was a known mechanic, but it doesn't mean that you should do that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But honestly, uh, it's stuff like that that Blizzard did away with the world first. For getting level 80, or
They
I
should
mean,
have kept those,
like
really.
like level cap on every race and every class and profession and stuff like that. That's the reason that they did that. Uh, did away with it because people were basically taking the attitude that whatever we can do to do it, we're going to do it. And the issue with the themes group is the first time I remember that being cracked down on. But now they've got, like I said, the point where they just don't put that in the game anymore. Like, you can no longer get realm first, level 100 paladin or whatever. You can't do it anymore, and that's fine. Whatever. But personally, I think using a mechanic that has never been altered, like Blizzard does not seem to have any interest in touching, that being able to kick someone out of a group and then them getting all the XP. They don't seem to be interested in touching that. So is it exploitation of a known mechanic to do something? Yeah, like you're purposely using this specific thing, to get an advantage. But is it worthy of being banned and being stripped, your title or whatever from? Probably not, because it's something that they won't address. Anyway, before we get even more off topic, um, when I was watching the stream, I actually wrote down uh, what they said. There's I have it labeled as like 13 points, but in reality it's probably more like 9 if you start combining stuff. Uh, so Nick, do you want to just get into this
Um.
uh, like point by point, or what?
Yeah, we could just go point by point. It shouldn't take too long.
It really won't. Okay. Okay. Actually, before we do that, I want to bring up a couple of outliers for this. First off, we brought up the other day how there will be a new transmog system. What you're going to get is something that's basically like how it is in Diablo 3. Once you loot a particular item, you looted it forever. Now I don't believe it's going to be like account wide. Like you can loot something
That
on.
that
Okay.
was actually the one question I had, is if it would be account wide, because if it's not account wide, it's gonna suck just a little bit.
I mean, I get why you wouldn't be able to do it. But I do think that if Blizzard,
I think it would be a major convenience thing where I would really like it if it was account wide.
see, okay, my thing is if it winds up being account wide, um, maybe bracket it, like something that would have
Like
been earned
low
vanilla,
requirement. Yeah.
like whatever's vanilla content, you get that, like at say level 60 or whatever. BC content level 70, and so on like that. Do it like it was done with tier armor or whatever. Um,
Yeah.
but I think it would be totally unfair to. Okay. For example, my main character's transmog set is the higher end, like the white, the whitish gold paladin PvP set with a helm from what's that boss in Ulduar, Yogg-Saron, and then a
Hmm.
sword from Burning Crusade and a few other things. I
Hmm.
think it would be unfair, to have that exact same set on, let's say, a level 1 paladin.
I mean, I get that, but at the same time, it's not like they weren't earned. It's not like they didn't earn that on another character. It
Well, I mean,
wouldn't
okay,
bug it wouldn't bug me that much.
well, see, like what's been described so far is that it will work like the heirloom system or the mounts or pets. You know, like once you've looted it, you've
It
learned
it,
it, and
it
it's
sounds
there.
like the Diablo 3 system.
But
I'm not sure how many people have played the Diablo 3 system, but basically once you pick up an item, you learn the transmog of that item, and it applies account wide on there, I believe. Yeah, it does.
let's see, that would be really cool if Blizzard did that with the new system. You know, like honestly, it would save so much time. Uh, for example, if I have a brand new character, say a warlock or whatever, and I want to have, you know, um, the plague doctor mask, you know, the one where you have like the bird beak and stuff in front. Let's say I want to have that on a warlock at level 1. You know, if that's allowable, that's really badass. I would do that.
Mm.
Um, but if they're going to do away, you know, with restrictions on armor abilities, which they've been hinting at quite a bit, and for sure they were loosened during Warlords. If they're going to make all this stuff account wide, that would mean all of your cloth gear can be worn by all of your clothies, all the plate by plate wearers, and so on. And I think that would be cool because let's say you know you make I don't know a Forsaken Shadow Priest or whatever, and you want that particular Plague Doctor mask. Well, that Plague Doctor mask is only for warlocks, but you're a Shadow Priest and you want it. Now, if they're doing it that way, that's that's a little bit overpowered to me, but I like it. I really like that idea.
I mean, they might keep the class restrictions, maybe, but I mean, I think it'll be fun. I think it's something that will be fun. It will give players a lot more flexibility. They can do a lot more things. They can look how they want to look.
It'll be cool, but I mean, like, I think we're just gonna have to wait and find out. Um, Another thing, this was not something that was actually discussed on today's meeting. It was just stuff that's been dug up, you know, from what was said the other on Friday, and then what's been posted on the Warcraft site and everything. A lot of classes are going to be redone. Well, not just the class, but the spec. Some of the specific ones are Discipline Priest, Beast, I don't know, Discipline Priest, Hunters, and Warlocks. Um, Now, of course, you know everything's most likely getting a change, but for example, Discipline Priest will now be like halfway DPS, halfway healing, but that comes, you know, from like atonement heals and everything. Now, the way people play it now, Blizzard has looked at that and said, you know what, that's just going to be the play style. So you'll do, you know, like more damage. I mean, more healing when you do damage or whatever. I'm not certain. I actually haven't played my priest very much this expansion, because, well, specifically because of how hard it was during the beta. It was a nightmare, and I did not run a single test dungeon or see a single priest who was actually doing really, really good. So I haven't really touched mine this expansion.
I'm the thing I'm most excited for is survival hunters, and I'm really nervous about this too. But a melee hunter is I my favorite class that in any kind of Dungeons and Dragons game to play has always been a melee ranger or a two-way ranger. You know, that can shoot, but they, you know, get in melee, and I would make a hunter just to play a survival hunter.
See, Nick, you pretty much just gave away the big surprise there. If you
No,
watch,
it's too good. It's too good not to give away. It's too good.
I know, but for anyone who watched uh, the panel on Friday, you saw the Eagle Spear, which is the traditional weapon of the High Mountain Tauren clan.
Yeah, because
Uh,
we were really confused about who was going to use that.
yeah. Uh, what it's going to be is for survival hunters. Survival hunters will, from now and forever on, as far as I can tell, will actually be a melee class. You will be melee with a pet, but survival hunters are still going to have ranged attacks. And I'm thinking what they'll do is set it up so that survival, your initial attacks will be ranged, and your like dispatching attacks, like a rogue has a finishing move. I'm thinking that a survival hunter is going to have an opener to be ranged, and then a closer to be ranged. I'm
Maybe we'll
hoping.
first.
I'm not sure. The other big thing is that marksmanship hunter will no longer have a pet. You will do really, really high ranged damage, and this comes from the positive results that have been seen with the talent right now for the lone hunter or whatever it is. I forget what it's called off the top of my head, but players have reacted to that very well because traditionally a hunter pet has boosted the hunter. Uh, but with specific pets, at least starting during Wrath and onwards, you were able to boost your group. Like if you had a cat, everyone got a certain boost. If you had a wolf, everyone got a certain boost. But now it's with these certain. Um, Basically, it's like getting a hunter, like older style hunter aspects. You have ones that increases your crit and your mastery and all that stuff. Blizzard noticed that and the way it's been being used, and that's going to be the marksmanship style from now on. So survival will be mostly melee, and your weapon will be a spear. Marksman is going to be entirely ranged, and their weapon is going to be, I believe, the Windrunner bow. Beast Mastery, you get to stay exactly how you are right now because you're kind of the badass here. The other class I've heard mentioned was Warlocks. Warlocks are
Before we
being.
go into Warlocks, I just want to comment. If they do this with Hunter, that is amazing because that would be the most diverse TPS class I can think of that they have. Because you basically have an archer, a ranger, and the traditional hunter that Blizzard has had, or World of Warcraft has had for a while now.
Yeah.
And it just be that would be. I would feel like there are 3 different classes in that instead of 3 different specs almost.
Well, see, like my thing is a lot of the changes I've seen actually go very much back to the play style that people used to have. Like the ones you and I grew up with in game. Like for example, Shakaden has been coming back, so I'm really expecting to see something like that actually, like something specific put in the game. Now, Shakaden, was done in BC. It was also done in Wrath. uh, it was really popular during both of those because at that point in time, the bonus damage against demon and undead had not been removed from the class, and so it was really popular. To have, say, someone who's wearing tank gear, using a uh, DPS weapon, and using mostly holy spells. It was not uncommon to see those people, out in the world. So it makes perfect sense, to try and with the whole class order thing coming together. It makes sense to be able to allow a specific class to adapt more to what we're going to be facing than it is to say, well, here is your traditional role that you've had. If you don't like it, make something else we don't care. So the idea, since we know we're going to be fighting a lot of demons, I think it makes sense that, like, if they do it with paladins, I think it makes sense. Hunters, I'm thinking, are going to, okay, basically a survival hunter, I'm thinking it's going to take some hints, like from a demon hunter, which we know is going to be a melee class. So I'm thinking it's going to work out like that. But what I was going to say about warlocks,
these would be some of the biggest class changes that I can remember for a long time now. I think maybe since Wrath, when Wrath did a lot of classes. Even things like Holy Power, I mean, they were a big playstyle difference, but they never felt like a revolution for the class. Revolutionary thing for the class.
It doesn't, but like in a lot of ways, I see this, reaching back. Well, at least with Warlords, and I'm going to guess onwards from now on, Blizzard has been going back to older ideas. Like the Demon Hunter class was going to originally be introduced during Burning Crusade, but it wasn't because Blizzard was not comfortable adding in another class. Like Death Knights, they go back a little bit. But I'm thinking Blizzard is going to take, some of the older ideas and play styles that people used to have and then add them in to what we have now. And I like that. Sort of like what was done with the Worgen, for example. They took the original Tauren ability. Like Tauren were not going to have a mount originally. They were going to have an ability called Plains Running. And what it was they would just, kind of start running, and they would do normal run speed, and then they would just get faster and faster and faster until they, tapped out at the initial riding skill and then epic riding skill, and that's what they were going to do. And Blizzard did that with Worgen. Now it didn't work with Tauren initially, but by the time of Cataclysm, they got it to work for the Tauren, Worgen, and that's cool. And I'm thinking, like so far, everything we're seeing seems to be Blizzard reaching back to those older ideas and then making them more adaptable. But before I digress too much, what I was going to say about Warlocks is Demonology seems to be, okay, like for this expansion thus far, it's really been the go-to spec. In the past, Demonology was considered a leveling spec, but around almost the end of Mist of Pandaria, you saw Demonology making more of a comeback. For Warlords, it seems to be the go-to spec because Blizzard made it much stronger. And I've got and I have a Demonology Warlock, but like during Mist, it was almost entirely Destruction. And if you wanted to get your green fire during Mist, you had to be Destruction. But this expansion, it's been more Demonology oriented. And what's going to happen with Demonology Warlocks is apparently they're going to function more like a swarm type class, to where like right now with a glyph and a talent, you can summon more and more imps to do damage, and I'm guessing you're going to be able. Clearly, you're going to be able to hold power over more powerful demons, and I'm thinking you're going to be able to do like an echo ability. Destruction is all going to be about burst. Again, it used to be about burst, but for most of Mist, it was kind of it was burst, but it was also sustained controlled damage. Affliction is sort of being tweaked. It's going to be higher damage, and it's going to be like ramping up damage initially, but then it's going to be like sustained damage over time. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. I mean, they all sound like pretty. I like the changes. I like how they're making the specs feel more different. A big problem that I've always had with especially for the DPS classes is that for a lot of things, I never really felt like some of the specs were different enough that they felt unique to me. I mean, yeah, you had your different rotation, you had a different uh, stats to emphasize, things like that. But I never really felt like they were especially different, like especially where this is the spec to fit my specific play style. And I think they're finally moving towards that. With what we talked about, hunters, warlocks. If you want to be bursty, if you want to be, build it up over time, you want to go melee more, go ranged more. Maybe you don't want to deal with pets. You want to just, they're really cool changes to me. I really like what I'm hearing so far. And this is one of the actually the class changes is one of the biggest things that makes me excited for Legion so far, because this is some serious gameplay changes, some and things I think will be a lot better for people, a lot better for the community.
I think it will be because, for a long time now, Blizzard has been taking some super, super severe criticism over their homogenization of classes. And I think finally Blizzard is giving in and doing away with most of that. But that's actually all I really had for, the other things to discuss. As far as Legion itself, there's been a lot of discussion.
Huh?
Do what?
Oh, I was gonna say the artifact weapons.
That's what I was going to get into. A lot of discussion has been over artifacts and how are they going to work. Blizzard has said that the only weapon the only weapon drop you're going to get the entire expansion is going to be your artifact weapon. Now they said they may add in, a few weapons like initially, that will be catch up type weapons, but after that, that's it. I do not know if there's going to be, like say a weapon that's going to drop in a quest or whatever, like was done with Admiral Taylor or whatever. I don't know if they'll do something like that. They'll be there just for transmog. But your artifact weapon is it. There's going to be, I think, 36 total.
Well,
And
I looked on Wildhead, and apparently no other weapons will be dropping in Legion, at least that I see. So
see, like what Wowhead says, and what I believe it was Mike Morhaime who said it this morning. They may actually add in just a few initially, but that's it.
Yeah.
There will be new weapons added in for sure, but that will be specifically for demon hunters. Demon hunters are going to have a new weapon type, glaives. So you'll have, for example, in the gameplay footage we saw, that's demon hunters using their class type weapon. Yes, you get a class weapon. It's pretty cool. But they said that the artifact weapon will be available really quickly. Now, whether you get it, in say half an hour or 5 or 6 hours, I don't know. But it's most of the discussion about it seems to say that it will be available before you have finished the initial Broken Isles campaign, and that's apparently going to be a launch event. So if that's what's going to happen, we will finish out Warlords of Draenor by having our artifact weapon. I don't know. That's severe theory crafting right there. But
I don't think so, because and I'm just reading off of Wowhead. Red Talon's return to Broken Shore to achieve Ashbringer. So it sounds like we're going to be going to Broken Shore to finish Warlords, but I don't think we're going to get our artifact weapon until the expansion launches.
Well, see,
At least that's what I'm reading so far.
The reason I'm thinking it's doable is if you remember at the very, very tail end of Mr. Pandaria, when they had the launch event for Warlords, you were able to do the quest and you were able to get gear from that. So if you had, an alt that you wanted to do it on.
Yeah, but I still think they're going to save the artifact for. I think it's going to be the first thing we do in the expansion, basically.
I'm hearing a little bit of both, and I don't know. But while we're on the topic about artifact weaponry, where did it go? Okay, like I said, it's gonna be the one weapon you get, so it's gonna stay with you for the rest of the expansion. Now, whether it's gonna be a weapon or like a shield or maybe a librum, whatever, that's what you're gonna get, and that's gonna be your one thing. There has now see the reason I'm mentioning librums is there has been some images of Anduin specifically having a librum, like a paladin librum hanging on his side. Now Anduin is supposed to be a priest,
so does that mean priests are going to be using librums?
I do not know. I really don't. But like I said, you see Anduin with the librum, so I'm thinking Blizzard may finally add in the librum.
I would be really excited if they brought back I always loved the Paladin librums, even though they weren't that great or just thematically. I always loved them having a librum.
I don't mean like the armor slot librum. I mean like the visual one. Like hunters used to have quivers and whatnot. That would be cool. But anyway, the artifact weapon is going to be the only one you're going to get. There will be 2 ways to actually progress with it. Artifact power, which was shown on Friday, which is basically it's sort of like experience points, I guess. You can the more you use your artifact, the more artifact power you get with it. Like it's really simple, and you can use that for upgrades or whatnot. But there's also going to be another source called relics. Relics are going to be found, through questing, through killing mobs. Like you're going to find them in various different ways. But they said that initially everyone's going to basically have the same access to relics that everyone else does. So it's going to be equalized, no matter what. But you will be able to get more powerful relics. Like, for example, if you run a raid in LFR and you get a relic off of a boss, if you do that on normal or heroic or mythic or whatever, and a relic drops, that version will be substantially more powerful than what you already got.
The one question this raises to me is if say players that are only running LFR, will they eventually be able to get their weapon as strong as a player that is running Mythic? That's probably my biggest question about this. Or will there be caps until maybe you have to beat Mythic, or you have to beat normal at least once before you can raise your weapon up that high?
I guess we're just going to have to wait and find out, really, because I don't know. Let's see. Blizzard said, okay, as far as dual spec goes, when you do the initial quest line to get your artifact weapon, that's going to be the one you're going to have. Like, you're going to have it forever, okay? Now, for me, my main spec is a tank. Now, let's say I want to make my off spec Ret, okay, or Holy, whatever. I'll have to. Everyone will be given the option to go back and get their artifact for that other spec you have, like your off spec, whatever it is. So, don't worry about it. You will be able to go back and get it. Okay. But there's going to be a catch-up mechanic. They haven't announced what it's going to be, but you will be able to very quickly catch your your artifact weapon up to your main spec one. But they said that artifact power and relics and stuff like that are going to help. Currently we have, for example, the ring, the legendary ring you get. At level 100, you get, actually at 98, you get like the basic version, and then as you do more stuff, you get the more powerful one. Same thing for the cloak in Mr. Pandaria. That's sort of how these weapons are going to function. But they stated during the little stream this morning that your artifact weapon is going to be like a companion for you. It's not going to be, it's not going to be just a weapon. It's going to be like your best friend forever. But the ones we know thus far, Ashbringer, Doomhammer, Phalomalorn, the Windwinter Bow, the Eagle Spear, a bunch of stuff. And if you look at the description of them, you can see where it is they're going to go class-wise.
And
so people, don't worry.
It looks like every single spec is going to get their own weapon of some sort.
We hope. Anyway,
no, it says right here on Wowhead, and I believe they announced during the original trailer too that there's going to be 36 different weapons. So there's going to be one for every single spec.
That would work. But anyway, before you because we're about an hour and a half into this right now. Those of you who are worried about your professions, worry no more. Yay! Blizzard actually listened to player feedback about this, and the garrison style profession, it's going to remain, but it's not going to be as heavy handed as it was all through Warlords. Every profession is going to have some kind of quest chain attached to it, and they said the ultimate goal is it's basically taking a step back to the way professions used to be. For example, with blacksmithing, you could specialize in being an armor smith, or you could be a weaponsmith. Like for alchemy, you could be a transmutation master or whatever. And that's what Blizzard is going to do. They're going to make you be, at some point in time, you're going to be able to be an expert in whatever area of your profession you want. So that's going to be cool. It's going to be really cool. Let's see. Okay. Flying, I know, is a huge topic right now, because we're supposed to be getting it for Warlords, but it hadn't been added in yet. And I keep thinking, every Tuesday that's come around for 2 months now, we're going to get it. We're going to get it. And they said the day it will be soon copyright mark.
Blizzard's famous soon.
Yeah, their version of soon. It's either soon or it's working as intended. Okay, but anyway, flying is eventually going to be added in for sure. They said that it will. A lot of the players did not want this, but Blizzard has decided that it will be done pretty much the same way that it was for Warlords, except it will be available right off the bat. Like with patch 7.0, the first step in getting the meta achievement to be able to fly is going to be in the game, and you'll be able to work on it right away.
I think this will work better than what happened before, just because they're planned on it. As long as they follow through and they carry through with what they're saying. I think this will work much better than the current iteration.
It was brought up in a brief discussion about how it is we're going to be getting to the Broken Isles. Like, are we going to fly there, or portal, or what? But during that same topic, but during that same topic, the discussion of Dalaran was mentioned, and Blizzard has said Dalaran is going to fly there. Now, whether it's really quick or whatever, we don't know. But given the fact that in the Warcraft movie, Dalaran is going to be a flying city, we should theoretically be seeing Dalaran actually floating. Whatever, I don't know. It's weird to think of Dalaran flying, but it will remain in Wrath of the Lich King content because
It
Blizzard
has
looks
to,
at each expansion as being a particular point in time.
which makes sense. When you're going through the story or going through each expansion, it makes sense that it's its own individual period of time.
It does, but that just means that we're still stuck with Ronan.
Well, yes, you're never going to be rid of him when you go to Dalaran and Northrend. I'm sorry. You're always going to hear him shouting about the Titans and saving us. And
Citizens of Dalarans, raise your eyes to the sky and observe. No, Ronan, no.
you're
I
going to
want to
hear
go
him
to
saying that
Twilight.
every 5 minutes for the rest of your life.
God damn it. Anyway, there will be some changes to the city. The big one is okay. It was presumed, that now that Jaina leads the Kirin Tor, that she'll
Wait, we
be
didn't
leading
even
the
talk
city.
about that, really.
Do what?
We haven't really touched on that.
No, we haven't. Jaina, is going away. Now, where that away is, I'm not sure. I have a.
I wonder if she's going to be the new kind of Aegwin.
I have a feeling that since we know that Violet Hold is going to be a dungeon, I get the vibe that Jaina becomes a boss in Violet
No,
Hold.
no, that they would not. Even with how crazy Jaina has been, I don't think. I very seriously doubt that.
We'll see. Like we
I think
discussed the
she's
other
going
day,
to be more like Aegwin or Aegwin did and go off on her own and just do her own thing for a while.
we'll see.
Or or she might come to Stormwind.
Like we discussed the other day, it's kind of indirectly hinted that certain characters are no longer going to be with us. And if we're going by, whatever weapons that we know are tied specifically to certain lore characters, for example, the Doomhammer and the Ashbringer, I'm thinking maybe the wielders of those are either going to die or they're just going, to realize that they can't do anything else or whatever. But like I said, Violet Hold is going to be a dungeon, and
That
Jaina's
one, but
disappearing.
from what I heard, that one's going to be the Legion is going to try to release all the prisoners held in Violet Hold. From what I heard about that.
I mean, like it's very speculative theory crafting right now, but I honestly I kind of like the idea of Jaina being, going completely insane and Khadgar saying no, put her in a cell, let her
I
calm
don't
down.
I don't think it's going to be that. Or if she isn't there, I think we're going to free her more than she's going to be a boss. I cannot picture Jaina being a boss right now. Not to say she might not be a boss later. I mean, they could go with her going completely insane. But I just don't picture that right now.
I can see her being a boss very easily because I have done the Horde version of the Krasarang quest line,
Mm-hmm.
where you go into Dalaran and you have to get the Sun Reavers out of the city.
Yeah, she goes crazy and starts killing everyone.
No, it's
Or
not
I mean,
just that.
imprisoning. But
it's not just that. She walks very slowly around the main road, and this,
Yeah,
like the one that goes all around.
I've seen it on the Alliance. You see it on the Alliance side too.
Oh no! You don't see it as like there was a sense of genuine fear I got from Jaina.
I
Because
got
okay,
that too.
that's
Have you followed her on the Alliance side?
I've done it Horde and Alliance,
And have you
but
followed her on the Alliance side?
hang on. There is a sense of genuine fear that you get more so as Horde than you do Alliance. The reason is if she catches you, you have two options. Either she kills you or she throws you in the Violet Hold. In the Violet Hold, you have to fight a boss to get out. Um, no. I take it back. She kills NPCs. She doesn't kill you.
Yeah.
You get the Violet Hold. But the NPCs, it was crazy to watch it. She basically hurled a couple of Sunweavers up in the air and then just dropped them on the street.
Mm-hmm.
Like straight up fucking murdered somebody.
She was pissed off.
But see, like with them doing that, I can understand, her going crazy enough to have to be locked away. But again,
I really don't think they're gonna do it. I think that her and Khadgar are gonna get in a fight. The entire Kirin tour is gonna be like, we don't have time for this right now, because the Legion's here. We need everyone we can get, no matter what the price. And then they're just going to tell her she has to step down or leave, and she leaves.
I don't know, but like that's story discussion or what. Speaking of story, there's really only two things left to discuss. Do you want to get into Demon Hunters first?
No, you have to finish talking about the Kirin tour remodel.
No, we'll get to later. Anyway, do you want to discuss Demon Hunters first, or do you want to discuss the actual story?
Probably Demon Hunters. We'll save story for last.
Okay. As far as Demon Hunters go, like I mentioned earlier, they were actually considered for Burning Crusade. Just go and answer this right off the bat, because I know people are going to know. Yes, you're getting a 12th character slot. Don't worry. Demon Hunters are going to, I believe we mentioned this the other day, they're going to wear leather. They're going to be, functionality wise, they're going to be pretty close to being like how a monk is. Like monks, particularly monk tanks, are, they're, like, they're pretty mobile.
And we
Demon
could
Hunters
probably use another leather class.
You can, but like we said on Friday's show, you have DPS and you have tank. Tank Demon Hunters are going to be larger and more powerful, and they're going to have like more armored plating on them. So they're going to be the Hulk basically. Let's see. We mentioned limited flight, eye beam, stuff like that. Like all that stuff's going to be in common for DPS or healers. I'm sorry, DPS or a tank. But they're getting, like I said, they're getting their own weapon slot. It was specifically stated that they will be a very, very aggressive class. They're going to be a very up in your face type class to play. Like you get you get on target real quick, and then you dispatch it real quick. So it's sort of like a rogue is, when a rogue pops all their cooldowns, pops out of stealth and everything, and kills you right away. That's kind of what you're looking at with Demon Hunters, only with no stealth. But
it'll be amazing to see a Demon Hunter just open up on a rogue or druid in PvP or something.
Well, see, especially since Demon Hunters can see through stealth and through walls and everything.
Yeah, that's what cool. I mean. Like just a Demon Hunter like popping in on a rogue and just blowing them up completely. I would love that.
I'm actually excited to see the see-through walls thing. Like, are they going to do, just like you're going to see like a little shadow or whatever? I don't know.
I'm guessing like a silhouette or something.
it'll be cool to see. But anyway, they said, well, they hinted more or less that melee classes are going to have like melee players, like if you're a rogue, you're a monk, like anything that's primarily melee range, you're probably going to have an easier time adapting to Demon Hunter playstyle than anyone else.
Yeah.
And
which makes sense. They're a melee class mostly.
that's really all they said about Demon Hunters. But as far as the actual, storyline goes, we discussed this the other day about how Archimonde possibly sent Gul'Dan, whatever.
Yeah.
Yes, that is Illidan. Completely confirmed. That is Illidan that Gul'Dan finds in the crystal. Okay. Yes, Archimonde teleported another dimension's Gul'Dan to our actual reality. The reason being that Gul'Dan has got a very, very important part to play in Warcraft lore. As we know from Warcraft 3, he's trying to get the Legion here and everything, and he was killed. Apparently, the Legion has taken X amount of time and made X amount of effort to, I guess, slightly coax a an okay. What we know we have with warlords is Garrosh was sent to another version of reality and help the Legion. I mean, help the Horde build up, and then the Legion gets involved. Like everything was the same except for certain aspects. And what it seems to be happening is that the Legion has kind of guided this in the taking place. Like it's been a long time planned. And so Archimonde, like I said, is the same one that we quote unquote killed in Hyjal. Only he was never killed. He was just pulled back into the Twisting Nether. So he has taken Gul'Dan, alternate reality Gul'Dan, and sent him to our world after the time he's died here. Okay. The reasons for all of this are supposed to be being revealed in the Legion itself. Like the whole reason the Burning Legion has wanted Azeroth so desperately and has tried to invade it so many times and has always been turned away is apparently going to be revealed. They did say that the storyline for this does not start 10,000 years ago with the War of the Ancients. It actually starts 12,000 years ago, so 2,000 years before the War of the Ancients. What is the Broken Isles now was originally, right about in the middle of the Night Elf Empire. Um, uh, some of the places like Suramar that was mentioned, and a couple of places are also. By the way, it was not Chandris who I was thinking of the other day. Suramar is actually where Tyrande is from.
Yeah.
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 Tyrande and Illidan are from there. No, yeah, they're all from there. But the Druidic area, I forgot the name off the top of my head, that is going to be in Legion, is actually where Malfurion Stormrage first encountered the demigods and the gods and goddesses of Azeroth and developed Druidism. So that's what you're seeing. To put it into a lore perspective, you're seeing almost smack dab in the middle of where the Night Elves were. Okay, the Well of Eternity and everything has already gone. It's already been done away with, but that was just a little bit north. Okay, so you're looking X amount of territory there. Blackrook Hold, the dungeon that's mentioned in there, was the fortress of Cruchalis Ravencrest. And if you've read the War of the Ancients book, you know what Blackrook Hold is, okay? You know what happens there. So you're going to be seeing some very highly important portions of Warcraft lore popping up. Or like we're back in the middle of all this. But anyway, the palace where the temple we're going to be going at that Gul'Dan is in, where he's opening the portal at, is actually a temple to Elune that was built using the pillars of creation. Like the Night Elves were able to get hold of these Titan relics and use them to build the temple. And what it was there was a I guess you can say rift or a portal, whatever you want to call it. It would have allowed the Legion to come here. It was just it was described as an open wound on Azeroth, and effectively the temple is a band-aid, but it's a band-aid that's held for 12,000 years now. This wound, whatever you want to call it, was just a spot where the Titans did not entirely seal everything together. Okay. It has allowed for like it's the way I'm interpreting what we're being told is that even though this has been sealed up by the Night Elves, sort of, it's partially responsible for elementals being able to get back into the regular world, and partially responsible for demons being able to get it like it's one of the things that makes Azeroth what it is, and makes it easy for this stuff that we know should not be there to show up. It's that important. Okay.
I wonder, and this is pure speculation, if at the end of the expansion we're going to be using that portal to either go fight the Legion directly, or maybe the Titans, or there's a lot of things they could do with that.
Well, see, we do know, like it was already mentioned, that the Titans will be taking a part in this. Now, they're not going to be here directly, but there's, I think, 4 or so that are in the Broken Isle areas that are like, it's sort of like...
they're going to be the Watchers, like in Northrend.
Yeah.
But the thing I'm wondering is that we've always had things coming through the portal to us. I wonder at the end of the expansion, maybe we're actually going to go through the portal and that'll lead into the next expansion, maybe.
I have absolutely no idea. But
that's just pure speculation, of course.
Okay. There's also another very important lore connection to this open wound. Okay. Now it was supposed to have been with the Well of Eternity. Broxigar the Red jumped into a portal at one point in time that was, again, supposed to be over the well in the story, and that was how he faced the Legion directly. Like he was able to wound Sargeras after killing thousands upon thousands of demons. So I'm thinking maybe this will tie into that. Maybe it's this rift where Alaria and Turelion come from. They're there, and we find them.
That was another thing I was thinking.
It would be awesome. These characters who, like Brox has been thought dead all this time. Maybe he's still alive. Maybe we don't know. But it could really tie in to a lot of things. But the basic premise is that Gul'Dan goes to the Broken Isles specifically to remove the band-aid from the wound, and that wound becomes that big glowing portal that you saw in the announcement cinematic, from the island, that big green column of light in the sky.
Mm-hmm.
That's what that is, and that allows Gul'Dan to summon more and more and more demons into Azeroth than have ever been here, ever. Like it's that much of a threat. But we do know, like I said, he does encounter Illidan. Illidan will interact with players, like it's already been established, more than just demon hunters. Now, the only thing they have said is it's likely that Illidan will be convinced to help players, but we don't know for sure. It's also likely that he won't be. But the only thing they really said, and this is going to be the last thing I really have to talk about, is that Illidan is angry. He's very, very angry. And that indicates that since we know this is reality Illidan, we know he was never killed. MEOW evidently drug him off to uh, the prison for the wardens, and he's been there encased by himself with his anger for, I guess, 10, 20 years now, whatever. So he was locked away. He was banished for 10,000 years, and then now he's imprisoned for X amount of time. So we know that he's going to be angry, okay? But that's really all we know right now. Anything else that is not available online is basically speculation, especially
I
for us.
I'm really wondering if he's going to really be a villain, or are we going to fight him? Is he going to be on our side? I'm really curious what they're going to do with Illidan.
Personally, I think it would be really, really awesome if Illidan became the class leader for demon hunters. Like for example, you have
He well, I could even see them making him the resistance leader against the Legion.
it would be cool. It really like you have Mograine as the Death Knight leader and everything. Like every hero class has got to have a leader, I guess. Monks for sure. Have um, Asa and G, whatever, yeah, G, like Horde Alliance have their own leader, and it would make sense, since demon hunters in this expansion are verifiably the Illidari, it would make sense for Illidan to be their leader. I don't know.
It either has to be Illidan or maybe even Majev, since she's the one releasing you, and um,
I don't know, but we're over an hour and 45 minutes into this. I'm sorry this has gone on that long,
there's
everybody.
just so much to cover, so much fun.
There is, and this is probably going to be our longest show to date. So if you've listened all the way through this, thank you for listening. If you haven't, you're dead to us, can opener.
He not really. No. Like us,
Really,
love us.
really.
No,
Really.
shut up.
Quiet you. But no, really, thank you for listening to us ramble for like nearly 2 hours now. There will be more that we'll discuss as more information becomes available. So keep tuned to Radio Tokyo for that, and keep an eye out, on Wowhead, WorldOfWarcraft.com, and everything, for whatever it is that we can't find to discuss. But that's really going to be it for today, I think. Friday show, of course, is coming up. Danny should be back. Fingers crossed. If she is, no matter what happens this week, we will do the cartoon conspiracy episode. I promise. It's like a month and a half delayed now, but I promise we'll do that.
Your word has no value at this point.
Do what?
Your promises have no value at this point to our viewers.
Well, see, it would have been cool to have done it before, but like with Danny, being gone, I don't want to do it without her. But next week, this is the first time I'm really going to be discussing this. I've been speaking to another individual from YouTube. Nick knows who it is, but I haven't told anybody else. We may have a special guest host and a special topic. We'll find out depending on how things work out. So, keep an eye out for that, and I will let you know if and or when that happens. But like I said, that's going to be it for this episode. Sorry it's so long. Sorry it's nearly 2 hours now. But there is a lot to go over, and it would have been cool if we could have done this, in 20 minutes or less. But I think it's important, to have the full discussion and, like let our thoughts free about it.
I'm literally watching the clock and watching you extend this even further at this point.
So what? Who cares? Radio Tokyo. They know what to expect. They know that I am long-winded, but yeah, that's going to be it for now. Keep an eye out for Friday show and possibly some other stuff this week that Nick and I are supposed to be doing. Hint, hint. Hearthstone. Hint, hint.
We'll see.
And I need to get finished with the walkthroughs and stuff. I forgot. I keep putting them off. I'll do it. But yeah, that's going to be it. So thank you for listening. Thank you for subscribing. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. Please remember to like, comment, share this video. Like us on Facebook. You know, tell us how much you hate Nick. Tell us what you want to see in the future. You know, whatever. But yeah. Say goodbye, Nick.
Goodbye, everyone. Please subscribe, like us, please. We love you. We love all of you. Goodbye.
All right. Bye, everybody. Have a great day.